All right, welcome back. In the first tutorial, we talked about establishing clefs and key signatures and instruments. Next, we're going to talk about actually getting into putting in the notes. Again, the menus are controlled over here. And when we're talking about inputting notes, the things that we're most concerned with is duration, which gives us all our note values to work from, including dots and ties. And then also pitch, if we need to deal with sharps and flats. So I'm going to turn those two menus off, duration and pitch. I'm going to get rid of some of these other ones, just because it'll make things a little bit easier. So I just have what I want to deal with. I want to work on duration and pitch. Rhythm is something that's a little different, and we'll get into that in another tutorial, but we don't need that right now. So let's just say, for example, I'm going to put in a major scale. So I want to click where I'm going to start, and I'm going to do a scale that starts with half notes and goes to quarter notes. So I want my first duration to be a half note. Notice it shows rests here. If I click on that, notice now it went to a rest. I have two choices when I put in notes. I can just click the note, like that. And again here, once it's in, if I need to move it up or down, because sometimes I click in the wrong place, I can do that. So you can click the notes in and move them up and down with the arrows. Okay. Now, let's say that I put that in and I meant for it to be a quarter note. Notice it's still highlighted. I can go back up here and hit the quarter note, and it switches to a quarter note. I can make it whatever I want before I move on to the next note value. So now I have a half note. That's what I want. So I'm going to use my cursor and move over. Now, if I click a note in, it's going to give me a half note because that's what that rest is. But I'm going to want a quarter note. So I'm going to click on the quarter rest. And I'm going to want it to be a D. So I'm going to use my keypad and hit the letter D. And there you go. It put it in. Now let's say that it had given me this D up here. Because sometimes the octave may not be right. I can hold down the control key and hit my down arrow. And there I have the right D. Cursor over to the next note. I want my next note to be an E. It's already a quarter note rest, so I know it's going to be a quarter note. I hit E, and it goes in. Cursor over. Now, if I click in here, it's going to give me a whole note. So again, I have to switch back to quarter notes, and F, and so on. I keep going. You do the same thing for whatever note value you want. A couple things, I wouldn't need it necessarily in this scale. But let's say I have an accidental. This is supposed to be an F sharp. So I'm on that note. It's an F. I go up here with my pitch menu, and I hit sharp. If I use my undo, so my control Z, I can undo that. Notice it also gives you a little hint. So when I click on that sharp, you see the plus sign there. That tells me that that's a keyboard shortcut. The plus sign up on the upper right-hand corner of the menu, it's with the equals. The plus is on top, so that tells me that it's a shift. So if I hit shift and hit the plus sign, I get an F sharp. Control Z that out. And if you notice, the flat sign is the minus. So I can do the same thing and put a flat in. Doesn't really work because it's F sharp. But let's go back over here for the E. And if I wanted that to be an E flat, shift, minus, and it does that. So you sometimes have to use your undo to revert and go back to some things. Another thing you can do, let's say I need a whole bunch of F's in a row here. I can just hit the R key, and it'll just keep adding those. Control Z, and they go away. Sometimes I'll actually, if I'm just doing quarter notes, kind of a shortcut cheater way, but I'll hit repeat, arrow it up, and then I want a whole note on the top. So you can use the R key and your arrow key to move your notes up and down to get them around. Okay. A couple other things that are in there. If I know this is going to be a tie, I can use the tie. Again, there's a keyboard shortcut there for you. If I needed that to be a dotted half note, and I only put in a half note, I'll add the dot. So really simple rhythmic stuff. And that's really just basic putting in your notes and rhythms, and your goal should be to make the rhythms and the pitches look like what's on your sheet. Okay? I think that's really about it as far as inputting notes and rhythms. Again, just using the duration and the pitch menu. I'm not worrying about anything else at this point. So if you have any questions, let me know. But that's very basic note and pitch input for you.